All right, we are digging for wisdom. Week 8 of the Texas high school football season. We're winding down here. We're going to not only start talking about playoff predictions, but we're also going to start talking, hey, Diggs, is this team going D1 or D2? Who's got the easier road? 4 weeks away from that. We got 4 more weeks of football. And speaking of that, since we've got 7 weeks, most teams have played 6 games under our belt. I'm wondering, what do you think as who's the top front candidates for Coach of the Year? Who do you feel has done a good enough job to at least be looked at for that? I'm going to throw out Riley Dodge just because of the 100th win last year. He's doing a masterful job. He's one of the only teams that it's not dealing with parity that much. He's just out there dominating his teams. But give me some unsung guys that kind of pull through for you.
I mean, Riley Dodge is probably the front runner just because of that. And because if you look at everything else, you see the parity driven structure of 6A. I think we'd have to, drop down to 5A, 4A to really kind of go, okay, I would kind of think of maybe even in 4A, maybe the Salina coach, but there's issues there. So we got to figure that out. Then going up to 5A, it's been the big dogs that have been there. Coach Todd has never won, a coach of the year, but what does he keep doing? I mean, if he gets back to a 5th state championship, at some point we have to say, you know what, you and Riley Dodge, you are clearly head and shoulders building these programs and doing amazing things. Coach of the year is tough on this one. I mean, because you have every time something good on the resume happens, something comes wrong, like Coach Gates. I'm thinking, okay, Coach Gates, he's doing good, but they lost to Rockwall. Okay, Rockwall's doing good. Oh, they've got 3 other losses over here. Maybe even right now, I would say if Louisville goes 10-0, Odell's got to be nominated for Coach of the Year, especially finally beating Coppell. Coppell has beat them by 20 and 25 the last 2 years. If he can beat Geyer and Coppell and go 10-0 and have wins over Rockwall, I mean, that's probably one that jumps out in my head as, hey, I wasn't expecting that. And you go 10-0?
Yeah. What about Coach Sedbury? Think he should be in the running there over there at Terrell?
I think said definitely he's in the conversation as well, because I mean, I just watched that game last week and it takes a lot because all the momentum was going against them. They got 3 first downs in the second half, but the 3 first downs they got were those last 3 to completely wipe out the last 5 minutes of that clock to win the game when nothing was going their way. They got 3 turnovers and still took advantage of opportunity. Sedbury has done a fantastic job, definitely in that 5A Division II running for Coach of the Year, depending on how you want to kind of break it out. And they're still with Prosper Walnut Grove. He was our Coach Allison was our guy last year, but they haven't played anybody yet, so we got to kind of find out how that works out for the last 3 weeks. But the last 3 games of importance. So there are definitely, just like the parity is there's probably more coaches in the pot. Even up till a couple of weeks ago, I would have said Arlington Heights, should be considered in there with Coach James. But then last week, what happens? They get bit by the parity bug.
Yeah, exactly. Sudbury seems to make those halftime adjustments too, which is key to being named Coach of the Year. I remember being at that Kaufman game. It was 14-7 at the half, and then I drive home and they won 48-14. So I was like, he did something in the second half. What about the playoff picture? Things are starting to look, as you put it, murky. I'm not a big fan of that word. It sounds disgusting to me, but it is a very murky playoff picture.
Which word is worse to you, murky or moist? I'm not sure. These 5-letter M words that are just going to get under your skin. But there are more districts at this point where, before, what we would consider a murky playoff picture is if you have 5 teams, like who's going to be that 5th team? Like, is it going to be Emerson or is it going to be Anna or Melissa? Right now, there are multiple districts where you can look at 6, 7 teams who are still very in the running. I mean, somebody sent me a message on Twitter the other day, or X or whatever we call it. Like there is a scenario in 4-6A that you could have a 3-5 4- or 5-way tie for that last playoff spot. I mean, what world do we live in where that's an issue? 6-6A, right. There are 7 teams right now that are in there for 2 playoff spots that have 3 or 4 losses. If you go ahead and just take the Allen and Prosper, if you haven't played Allen and Prosper, let's go ahead and give give you a loss for that. 7 teams right now battling for 2 playoff spots there. You go to 9-6A, and every week it feels like something crazy has happened. Last week, Rowlett beats Wiley. Naaman Forest loses to Lakeview Centennial. Saxe, is right there as a team that they've looked bad, but, they bounced back against North Garland. What's going on right now, Ward? 10-6A.
Yeah, my favorite district.
You go the A is greater than B is greater than C. I work best when you have mathematical, what I call the calibration. Okay, this team beat this team beat this team. Just think of Duncanville, DeSoto, and Waxahachie. We got Duncanville losing to Waxahachie by 1, DeSoto then beating Waxahachie by 23, and then Duncanville beating Waxahachie Duncanville beating DeSoto by a big number, to where they capped out their tiebreaker in that district. I mean, this is happening all over the place. I would have never guessed, after Saginaw barely beat or lost to OD Wyatt, that they put up 50 on Arlington Heights.
Yeah.
And I bet Arlington Heights, I'm going to pick Arlington Heights over OD Wyatt this week. It makes no sense.
Right, exactly. And that's funny you brought up, capped out the point differential, because me and you were talking. I was giving Coach DeLay the business of South Grand Prairie. I said, "Boy, you're going for fake punts up 43-0. Maybe that's maybe he's anticipating 4 weeks down where he needs to have a cap out on that, and that's why he put up 53 on Lamar. If they're going to give us the ball 4 times, I might as well go ahead and cap out my points in case there's some sort of bizarre tiebreaker down the stretch there. It's going to be a wild run, but that's why we love this stuff, man. We get down to the end and figure out that last week 11, November 7th, 8th, 9th, it's going to be wild. But let's talk about last week's flowers, man. Who are you throwing some out to?
I got a lot of flowers. Keller Central. This was a team that was the 9th team last year in this district, and we pretty much rejected them at the 9th seed right now. We're not giving LD Bell any more flowers. It is Keller Central right now, and now because Keller Central not only beat Justin Northwest, this has been the first time when those 3 to 8 teams play each other. It's usually a 1-score game. But Keller Central beat Justin Northwest by 3 scores last week, and they're looking really, really good right now. I think they did not like the fact that we gave the shovel to the whole ISD last week and true. Said, "What do we have?" Our 2 bounce back games this week were Keller on Byron Nelson, and then Keller Central just completely dominating Justin Northwest. If I give you a shovel and you give me that kind of performance, you're not Undertakering me. You're not coming out of the coffin quite yet. But I see you, Keller Central. I see you. It's going to take a crazy tiebreaker for things to happen, but hey.
The fact that we're in week 7 and they haven't gotten an individual shovel left yet, it tells you what the program is at least coming up a little bit here.
And then Saginaw, we kind of mentioned that earlier. And not only that, Joshua Greek. I mean, this is a player who's now been at 3 programs over the last 3 years. He was at Paris, then moved to Frisco Heritage, and now moved over to Saginaw. And he played at such a high level against Arlington Heights. Threw for over 300 yards, just against a really good defense. I mean, he in one half, he put up more points than 5 teams put up the whole year, when you're additive. And Saginaw, and you've seen it on the social media, the Saginaw folks have been very demonstrative, and then they kind of pulled back a little bit, but they're back out this week, and they deserve to be out this week because what they did to Arlington Heights. I dropped Arlington Heights all the way out of the rankings. They were number 5. No, all the way out because that district. And I think that, and I said that's good for Saginaw, but bad for the district because of that parity now. That's going to be really tough when you play 3-5A in that first round. Aledo, Denton Ryan, Richland. Richland played Denton Ryan really well. And now this week we're going to have Brewer and Birdville for the final playoff spot. That's going to be a tough game for whoever that first seed is to win when you have this kind of parity going on. So Saginaw, for 1 week, we're not friends. This is not an admission of guilt. It's not an apology. But I got some flowers for you.
Here's some flowers for you. You probably give them a cut rate version, like some tulips. No roses on this one. It's flowers, but that's what you get.
Hey, I got a good deal at rosefarmers.com.
There you go. And how about those Heath Hawks, man? I tell you, if you want to get in the shootout with Rodney Webb, that's all right. He'll play a shootout home, away, wherever. And he does it again. He took out Highland Park, and now he takes out North 40.
It's kind of the same thing in both games, though, because to me, I think if you're a North Forney fan, even though you lost, you could take out of that you were dominated in the first half. It was 42-21. You shut them down to one touchdown in the second half after they put up 6 touchdowns in the first half. And special teams, they missed the field goal and then they missed that extra point. But man, what can you say about Rodney Webb? I mean, we're talking big wins now. I've got them number 1 in 10-6A. Their only loss is to Prosper. And how bad does that loss look? Because Prosper beat Austin Westlake. I mean, that's a great loss if you're going to have a great loss. Rockwall Heath. Man, there are some people who owe our friend over from Dave Campbell's Matt Stepp an apology, because he was on Rockwall. I had him 4. But he was like, I think Heath is going to be really, really, really good. And people battled him on the social medias about that. And again, this district is so good. They deserve their flowers because they are going through the storm right now, and they're coming out the other side with smiles. Coach Webb knows what he is doing. Never bet against Coach Webb.
You can't do that. You absolutely can't do that. All right, flip side. Who's getting the shovel in this week, man? Who gets the back end of the flower?
Kaufman, your team. Get him out of here.
Aljor, I'm sorry, man. He got shoveled out.
And I mean, I was looking on the dump this week. I was looking for a way, okay, maybe Corsicana can beat somebody. And every time I throw something out, somebody would say, nope, they've already lost that game. Nope, they've already lost that game. I mean, they don't have any positive tiebreakers at this point because they've lost to everybody so far. So they're done. I mean, at this point, if they don't play well, Corsicana, who beat Boteet this week, which was an unexpected win, they may get them. And maybe Corsicana, that we kind of get into the picture. If they can steal a win, maybe Corsicana can slide into that 4th playoff spot. But it ain't going to be Kaufman. Goodbye, Kaufman.
And you got a shovel for the competitive 3-5A Division II district. Who gets one there?
Arlington Seguin, and it's not anything they did because they played Seguin, or they played Argyle a little bit better than they did last year. But because Summit won against Timberview, that means that Seguin's got to do 2 things. They got to get a win, and then somebody else has got to lose. And if they don't beat Colleyville Heritage this week, they can't even get the win. So I think they're done as of now, even if they beat Colleyville Heritage. So sorry, Seguin.
When you got 4 weeks of football left and Dixie tells you got to do 2 things, that doesn't give you a lot of time to do even one thing. So 2 things is probably out of the question. All right, let's get into some Week 8 games here. We'll start off with 3-6A. North Crowley proved they're the man in this district, as we expected. They put 62 unanswered on Lake Ridge. But Lake Ridge and Crowley now, Lake Ridge wants to solidify their 2nd spot, and Crowley wants to get in this thing.
Weirdly, Crowley got their playoff positioning back in their control this past week because Saginaw Boswell lost to Mansfield Legacy, and they only lost by 1 when they played them. So now, if things go as I expect them to go, they'll control their destiny over Legacy. I think Crowley just seems like one of those teams that we talk about the parity, they're due. It's like any given week, we're just going to pull up, and now all of a sudden we see Crowley win a game they're not supposed to. We're like, okay, there's Crowley doing it. I'm not picking it this week. I think Lake Ridge is really looking good and looking strong right now. Jaden Cotton, man, he has been such a good leader for that team. But I think this is one of those games, the way upsets have been brewing, this is one of those games I could see when we're talking on the Friday night recap, as you can go, Diggs, you talked about this on the podcast, but I'm still going to stick with Lake Ridge. But Crowley matches up against Lake Ridge in a way I think they could do something, but I'm going to stick with Lake Ridge because they know how to win. But man, getting beat by North Crowley the way they did, that's got to be in their head a little bit now.
Yeah, that was quite the beating they took, and Legacy, and hearing you talk about the Crowley game, Legacy's got 1 foot out the door here, just about to get a 2nd foot. And Mansfield's kind of picked up another big win to solidify their spot.
Yeah, Mansfield beat Crowley, and remember that game, that's one of those unbelievable innings. That was 14-14. Mansfield was driving late in the 4th quarter. They got stopped, and then Crowley got the ball. They're trying just to get in field goal range. Mansfield, pick 6. Now it's 21-14. Now Crowley's throwing Hail Marys. A 2nd pick 6. 2 pick 6s in the last 2 minutes of the game for Mansfield to win that game 28-14. So it looks good on paper, but again, that game was 50-50. And then I think about Mansfield Legacy and how that game against Weatherford went a couple of weeks ago. That was 52-49. So I feel like we are in shootout territory with this game. I don't trust a team. I don't trust Legacy that gave up 49 points to Weatherford. So I think Mansfield's going to win this game. I just don't feel a lot of confidence about it.
Yeah, the fact that Mansfield only gave up 14 is a shocker in its own right, to be honest.
And their defense got 14.
Exactly.
They got 28. They gave up 14, and their defense got 14 of those points.
They didn't give up any, and they provided some. So that's always a little bonus considering what's been going on this season over there. 4-6A, we got Byron Nelson, who was in a humdinger and ended up pulling it off by 3 points against Keller. They taking on Eaton, hanging on by a thread.
This game has a little bit of rivalry feel to it because you got Justin Northwest. I know they're the original team. It's kind of like when Plano East and Plano West play each other. Yeah, we're tired of that big dog over there. And these two teams kind of came around the same time. So they've been back and forth. So I think there's going to be that rivalry element to this. Byron Nelson, up, down. We're talking about the parity so much. I think Nelson should be a favorite. I hope they bounce back because the way they were playing against Keller, this is a game that if they played the same way they played against Keller, Eaton is going to steal it and bring them back down. And now we're going to have all kinds of tiebreaker chaos. So for my sanity, I can't deal with any more tiebreakers. Right. If we pulled Nelson and Euless Trinity down to the 3-loss zone, and now we got to figure all this out. Woo!
Time to call your boy Step up. Step, make some calls for us, man. Figure this out. Speaking about Keller and Trinity, Trinity's homecoming. They're bringing in the Keller Indians to Pennington. How do you see this one turning out?
This is one of those games that if Keller plays the way they played against Byron Nelson, they would be a 2-touchdown favorite. And I know because I feel like you videoed some of these games when these teams were in different districts. This was like a first-round playoff game.
Yeah,
and Keller was never scared of Trinity. So Keller's not going into this game. I think Keller beat him at least one of those years in that by-district game. So Keller is not scared of Trinity. They gave Byron Nelson everything after Byron Nelson completely dominated Trinity. This game is just – I wish I had more courage to pull upsets because if you were a betting man, this is one that just has upset written all over it, especially after Keller gave Byron Nelson everything. Keller is playing at a very high level, but man, I feel like every time you start to get that momentum against Trinity, that's when they buckle down. That's when they make it to the next level. So in a not very confident pick, give me Trinity by a touchdown. But again, this is one of those, I put it in here because there are 6 ways I can see Keller winning this game. I just think one of the 4 ways is what Trinity is going to get, in this last 10. If my hypothetical situation that they play this game 10 times, what's going to happen 10 times? I think Keller right now, the way they played last week, wins 6 of those games. But I think Trinity is going to play one of the 4 that they need at the right time.
Trinity hasn't instilled any confidence in you at all, huh? How about LD Bell? Have they put any confidence? Or
no, because now we got the hottest team. This is the battle of the flowers right here. We've given LD Bell flowers 3 times. We've given
Central beat the pants off of Northwest, where Northwest beat Bell. So
yeah,
there's their calibration right there.
And how many times have we seen that just flip all over this year? Just week after week, you can say, well, this team beat this team, but then this team, won by 3 touchdowns over that. Keller Central should be a favorite in this game, but again, for whatever reason, I'm HEB ISD biased. It feels like LD Bell didn't even win the close game last time. They finally lost the close game. But one thing I've seen is when you have 2 weeks to prepare, that helps you out. LD Bell had the week off last week. I think they're going to get a little bit healthier. I think they bounce back, Ward. Give me LD Bell.
Give them LD Bell. We can't have a repeat of a couple of years ago where they were 6-0 and then just bottomed out here. We got to get them a win, man. Somebody's got to make them flowers. Somebody needs to water the flowers and keep them blooming. All right, Capel and Louisville. Capel has not given us anything over the last 2 weeks, right? They lost to Guard, then they barely beat a horrendous Little Elm team.
I mean, a little horrendous may be a high adjective.
All right, bad. I'll say bad.
May clip, but even worse than that, because not every 35-28 game is created equal. Sometimes you have a 35-7 game where you get a couple of touchdowns laid and maybe throw a Hail Mary or something. This was 35-28 where Little Elm was throwing into the end zone at regulation. Like we were driving to tie this game and probably go for 2. If they score in that last play, they're probably going for 2 to steal a win over Coppell. Coppell the last couple of weeks has completely tanked. I mean, something has changed over there. I'm looking at the stats, and the players haven't changed, but the injuries, offensive line, defensive line, it's just a completely different the way the games are being flowed right now. Like, people are doing whatever they want to against Coppell. Louisville, on the other hand, they took your team, Flower Mound. It is rare. And I know you've been following these Louisville ISD. It is rare for a team within the Louisville ISD to blow out the other team. It is like, I mean, we saw Marcus in Louisville. That was a back and forth game. The Mountain Showdown. It is rare that you just go 49-7 on a team, even if you're better than them. And that's what Louisville did. And I've been telling you all year why Coppell is better than Louisville, why Louisville has this the boogeyman against Coppell, where they've lost this game by 3 or 4 scores the last couple of years. This is the time for Louisville to step up, prove me right. But you know what, Ward? All year, when you look at the upsets, when you look at Duncanville over DeSoto, it's always those traditional powerhouses that have looked bad that finally figure it out. Because there was no reason why you should have picked Duncanville last week. And we even talked about, I was like, come on, Ward, tell me why you're going to pick Duncanville. I don't know. It's just because the name, it's the program. And I gave you 25 reasons why you were wrong. And you're sitting there looking right. And I was wrong.
Exactly. I don't know.
This game has that same exact feel. Louisville is DeSoto and Coppell is Duncanville. So Louisville has every reason to look good, all the momentum, and I'm picking Louisville. But again, this is one of those, the way this district has gone, the way this season has gone. If Coppell is up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, I'm not going to be surprised either. But if Louisville wins this game by 5 scores, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think that's more likely than Coppell winning this game. But again, parity. I'm tired of that word. We're going to have to bleep it out. You're just going to have to get one of those censored things to shut me up about all this parity going on. I don't like it. Like my rankings, like you could be 5 and then 17 the next week. It's
all over the place.
I had Rockwall over North Forney, and now I got him out, or over North Crowley, and now I got him out of the playoffs.
It's what can you do? It's parity, guys.
And they didn't even play last week. They got the bye week, and they're gone.
They got to prove themselves this week, and we'll get to that in a bit. My guys over there at Marcus, right up the block here, they got to figure out how to finish out some things. They got to finish. They got to find a way to play a full game. It hasn't happened, and they had Louisville on the ropes. They couldn't get it. They let teams come back on them after being tied 21-all. They lose to Hebron, or they almost lose to Braswell. They lose to Hebron after they can't finish it out. And Geyer is playing at a different level. Caden Cobb looking just like his brother, Kedrick, and it's amazing how they're doing things over there.
Yeah, the last couple of years, Marcus just hasn't been in the right headspace. I think of Coach Atkinson and when he ran the program, and how it just felt like Marcus had this toughness and was in every game. And this version of Marcus has been, like you said, inconsistent at best. Talented, but inconsistent. Geyer is showing me that high level of play right now that you kind of expected from Marcus. I think Geyer is going to name their score on Marcus. Again, even though Marcus has played great at times, I think Geyer's just going to get up big on him. And now Geyer has proven themselves. Louisville has proven themselves. Marcus and Coppell. It could be Marcus and Coppell playing for the last playoff spot. If the way both these teams are playing, if Coppell can slide down a little bit, Marcus can win that game, force a 3-way tie or something. That's Marcus's hope right now. It's not going to be through Geyer. Geyer should have their way against Marcus.
Absolutely. All right. Prosper Rock Hill against Plano East. Rock Hill is beating the teams that you kind of want them to beat, right? Yeah. If you're a Plano East, I say you, meaning you specifically. If you're a Plano East fan, because
everybody who listens to this podcast is a Plano East fan. Let's be clear about this. It is everybody's number 2 favorite team. They got their team, and then Plano East is their number 2 team. Did you like the stat that I generated, Ward, on the dump this past week, where 7 teams in this district now have 3 or 4 district losses if you count Prosper or Allen, if you haven't played them right now. The 3 teams that have 3 losses are Plano, Princeton, and Rock Hill, and the teams that have 4 losses are everybody else, basically. So all 7 teams are still in this, other than Allen and Prosper, which can't we just get to that game, because that is the game we all really want to talk about in 6A. 6A. This is the game that Plano East has had 2 weeks to prepare for. And Rock Hill did not look good against McKinney Boyd. That game was 11-0 in the fourth quarter. It was 2-0 at one point, and then 5-0 at halftime, and then 11-0. And finally, Rock Hill goes boom, boom. They score, they get an onside kick, they score again, and then they get a late score because you got to get all the points you can in this district. You're going to see crazy things. And Rock Hill had 4 turnovers in that game. McKinney Boyd had 3. All these 6A games, it comes down to turnovers. Plano East has spent the last week working on preventing turnovers. I think Plano East is going to bounce back and win this game and draw Rock Hill down to that 4th loss level. Right now, of all of those teams, Princeton is the only team that controls their destiny because they haven't played Prosper. They haven't played Prosper yet. They played Allen, and they saw what happened when you play Allen, just 70-14.
That happens.
Yeah, it's bad. But all Princeton has to do is beat Plano West. That's all that matters at this point. Princeton beats Plano West, they're in. Princeton loses to Plano West, they are in the 4-loss club. And now we're dealing with a situation where we could have 7 teams all in the 4-loss club or 3-5. I mean, it is crazy. We told you that even at 0-5, Plano East was not out of it. If they can win this one, they are back into effectively they're back in the driver's seat if they can beat Rock Hill. I think because of Rock Hill, they're bad offensively right now. They're good defensively. East can limit the turnovers. We're back, baby.
We're back, he says.
If we lose, we're getting a shovel.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens in that one. We go moving on to 7-6A. Berkner's got this pretty record, but the games aren't as pretty as you would like to see. They're kind of ugly. Meanwhile, Lake Highlands is beautiful wins. They're blowing squads out, and they're playing really good ball. And it's not just, going into the season, it's like, okay, Christian Rhodes will take them as far, but Chuck Smith is doing his thing behind center. This is a really quality squad all of a sudden. I don't know. I haven't seen your rankings yet. Are they in it?
They're in it, but I mean, remember they lost to 40. So I mean, you're kind of you're limited to that. It's kind of like last year when they lost to Flower Mound. In my head, you could only go that high. Right. That's just where your district falls. This year they did beat Flower Mound, but we're seeing everybody beat Flower Mound. Unfortunately, they may struggle. I think they play Little Elm this week.
You need to take it easy. We're in 7-6A now. Let's get back to focus. Come on.
This is rivalry week in 7-6A. It is the naming of the stadiums. We got Ram Wildcat Stadium or Wildcat Ram Stadium, and we got Mustang Eagle or Eagle Mustang across the street down at Beltline and Coit. It is rivalry week. This week it is going to be Wildcat Ram Stadium. Lake Highlands is too much. Chuck Smith, Christian Rhodes, defensive side of the ball. But you're right. It was just 2 years ago when we picked against Berkner, and what did Berkner do in this game? They know how to win this game. That's the one that the kids get up for even more than the playoffs. So you got that rivalry factor in there, but Lake Highlands is just a lot better than Berkner right now. So I think it's going to take rivalry and a couple of turnovers to pull this upset.
What about the other big one, Richardson and Richardson Pierce?
This is Pierce's last chance. Pierce is going to get a shovel if they can't win this game, because then they lost to Jesuit, then they lost to Richardson. They're out, kind of like Kaufman. You're going to be out of games to get in there. You already lost to Lake Highlands. You're just you can get into Berkner, but then you need Berkner to do something else to get into that tiebreaker to get to the 3rd loss. So Pierce is going to be playing desperate. Richardson is playing, now I get it's against the Irving ISD schools, but finally they're showing something. And I think it's like that downhill, Ward, I know you don't like to exercise, but this, when you start walking downhill, it's easier than when you're walking uphill. It's just easier when you're walking downhill. It feels like Richardson, because they've had these couple of games, it's like everything's a little bit lighter. It's like, okay, we know we can score. We know we can play defense. We know we can do this. Then when Richardson Pierce hits him in the mouth, it's back to, okay, we remember Lakeview Centennial. We remember Plano. We got this. Give me the Richardson Eagles to win this game. I'd say by 2 scores. I'm going to give them a 10-point favorite.
Your girl Marley's got to make a decision, right? Which one of these games are we going to? I guess she'll go to the Pierce.
She'll go to Richardson. That's not
Pierce Richardson. That's a no-brainer for her. Stay over there. All right, 8-6A. We'll learn about Arlington finally. I mean, they're 4-1. We didn't learn much about them, but we were going to learn today. You're going to learn today. They're playing Bowie, and they'll probably also give us a little insight onto how the Bowie SGP game will be further in the year, because Arlington's already played Bowie and lost by a couple of scores. What do you think I hear?
Arlington was playing Sam Houston. I kept refreshing. It was like 7-7 going into the third quarter at something. Sometimes scores are a little bit or second. It was way closer. Now the final score reflected, okay, Arlington kind of got some second half scores to pull away. But again, Arlington, we kind of thought that Marcus game, okay, maybe the way they were up on Marcus before the game got canceled, but Bowie, my guy, Jaden Bibbs, you can't stop him. So can Arlington go score for score with Bowie? The way they played against Sam Houston, no, they couldn't go score for score with Sam Houston for the first half. So I think Arlington's got to get a track meet. I don't think they can go score for score. Bowie big.
Bowie big in that one. And what about Haltom? They have a chance to are we going to see a shovel come around for Martin next week if they can't win this one? Because Martin's
Say his name, Ward. Say his name.
Federico. Oh,
our guy.
200 plus every game.
200 plus every game, and you have an Arlington Martin who gives up, about 200 yard rusher every single game. This is a shootout game. This is the game where Haltom put themselves on the map. And how many times, Ward, have I told you that this is the time I'm going to believe in Arlington Martin, and then they let me down?
You're not
no more.
You're not believing.
No more. Give me Haltom to take care of business because Federico, I mean, that's all they got to do. They threw the ball 4 times last week against Grand Prairie. And Martin has shown me nothing where they're going to be able to shut down a running game. So Haltom keeps it simple, minimizes the turnovers. That's where Haltom can get out of kilter is if you got to start throwing the ball. And I don't think that Martin is going to be able to have the kind of style of defense that's going to force Haltom into that game. Therefore, I got to stick with Haltom in those Buffaloes.
Definitely. By the way, I talked to Jesse Ford. He will be back this year, by the way.
Really?
He's going to be back the last couple of games. It's not
okay.
He'll be back, but it may be too late, though. It may be way too late by the time. He said Sam Houston game, which I think is like 9 or 10. So he might get 2 games left in him. All right, here it is. This is the district that I think the next 3 you can't really, or the next 2 at least, you can't really figure out what the heck's going on. And I tell you what, I haven't had a camera at a Rowlett game in a long time. And they're right there. They're right there in this thing. If we can figure out the playoff spots, trust me, we would tell you who we thought, but I don't know if you can tell me yet.
Yeah, we were having a private conversation where somebody was like, hey, I'm thinking this. And I'm like, no, I don't know how you could see that. I see it like this because you got 6 strong at this point and now Rowlett. But what Rowlett has is that really good quarterback, Samuel Loera. When he has the ball, 4th quarter, how can you bet against them? But Lakeview Centennial finally beat Naaman Forest. We've told you they were looking for a win. I gave you this whole speech about how I thought Lakeview Centennial could play them, but I couldn't pick them because of the way Naaman Forest wins the late games. What happens? Lakeview Centennial does it. Yeah. They take care of that business in the 4th quarter, just like LD Bell. They lost, they won, lost. It's just that back and forth game. Lakeview Centennial has more talent than Rowlett, and this is a rivalry game. Do you remember, Ward, 7 or 8 years, maybe it was even 10 years ago, that it was a Thursday night game. It was like a triple overtime, 70-68 game with Lakeview Centennial and Rowlett, and now we're probably first one to 20. If you get to 20 in this game, you're probably going to win it. And back then, man, I remember I was at Mesquite ISD and I'm coming home and I find out that this game is like in the 4th quarter, 56-56. Well, I can go buy HBJ on the way home. And I got like an hour of extra football that night going to this Lakeview Centennial Rowlett game.
I do remember that now.
That was crazy fun football. This is the rivalry. This is like, if you're going to pair off like we do an interplay baseball, like the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, you are considered the rivals in the district. Well, you got North Garland and South Garland. It's Lakeview Centennial and Rowlett. It's like right across the lake from each other. Lakeview Centennial has more talent. I don't know how Rowlett is doing this, honestly. I mean, it is like we talked about their coaching. Their coaching has been fantastic. The way they have pieced it together, I was wrong about that because they have kept it together under adversity, under numbers that they're probably going to 5A next year,
right?
As is Lakeview Centennial. But Lakeview Centennial has too much talent. I mean, Dakari Jernigan and Lakeview Centennial by a score. Yeah. As long as they don't have 4 turnovers, like that's the difference in 6-6A. Like McKinney and Plano West last week. Turnovers. Plano West had 3 turnovers in that game, including a defensive touchdown for McKinney. You can't win these games in 9-6A and 6-6A when you're on that side of it. It's like I can look back and go, oh, that's why they lost. Oh, that's why they lost. Lakeview Centennial finally played a clean game against Damon Forest. I didn't trust them to be able to do it. They did it. As long as they can do that, they should be able to beat Rowlett.
By the way, Dixie is talking about extra football. This is fall break week over there in 9-6A. 3 of these games are at 5:30, including this one. Hey, maybe even Dixie on a Thursday. We'll go to Wiley East and Naaman Forest for our first half and then head out to Prosper, although they're nowhere near each other. They're probably not going to make it.
Near each other. Do you think I'm going to even risk missing a Plano East game?
An actual
I think I'm going to risk missing.
How about just a quarter of this game? A quarter?
I do lament the fact that if Plano, the last 2 weeks, we've had amazing Thursday lineups, and Plano East is playing on one of them. Come on. Give me a break, guys. Spread the love out, because 2 weeks ago we were looking for a game. I had to go to Lebanon Trail and McKinney North, and now this week, Thursday, you could do a show. We talked about last week. You could have done a show on Thursdays. This week you could do a show on Thursdays.
Yeah, if this wasn't a Plano East Thursday, you would seriously consider a half of one of these Garland games and then do another one. But keep going.
Yeah, Wiley East has been the most inconsistently good of all the 9-6A teams. Last week they finally, they put it to the Saxe. Now they put it to South Garland. It feels like they've got it figured out a little bit. Naaman Forest is going to be giving them everything after losing to Lakeview Centennial. Right. I think Wiley East, though, as long as they don't mess around for a half, because they very much like Flower Mound Marcus has been apt to mess around for a half. You can't mess around for a half against Naaman, because Naaman has taken advantage of that. Remember the Rowlett game? Mm-hmm. Remember the Garland game? You mess around for that half, they know how to take advantage of it. But Wiley East, I think that they got it figured out. I think they win this game by 3 scores and show themselves as the one dominant 9-6A team.
I can take it. Yeah, still undefeated right now, so they're doing well. Here we go. 10-6A. This is where we have our fun here. Forney is they got the Rockwall teams and Tyler Legacy left, but they've gotten themselves big wins. Win at Longview is being the biggest. They took care of Royce City too, I believe, and then they're they're home against Rockwall this week. So this is and Rockwall had a week to prepare, and I tell you what, the teams that have bye weeks in this district, they must just sit back and are like, have 3 screens up. This is crazy. I don't know. What do we have ourselves in for when we go back out and play? Because these guys are just going at each other.
Fleener Magic going out to Longview and winning that game. Forney and Longview have had a little bit of a budding rivalry, because if you remember that 5A Division I slate where you had Lancaster and Forney and Longview all in the same district with McKinney North, it was like battle after battle, and Forney could never slay that Longview Dragon. And then Lancaster beat Longview, then Forney beat Lancaster, and Forney made it to the state semifinals that year, where they lost to Aledo in a very non-competitive football game. Right. But that's what happens when you play Aledo and get in their head. But man, Forney in that game, I watched the last play of the game, because the Longview game day people do a really good job, and Longview is like 4th and 2, and they just ran into each other. It's kind of like something you would see with the Cowboys right now. They're just running into each other. Just so many uncharacteristic mistakes right now from Longview. That game was like a plus 3 for Forney. They got 3 turnovers, a special teams error, which I consider those turnovers when you make the special teams errors and you get to keep the ball for an extra series that you shouldn't have gotten. I know some people, they don't come across on the stat sheet as a fumble or whatever, but like Midlothian, Heritage, and Terrell, when you have a roughing the kicker that gives them the ball back when you would have had the ball back, that's a turnover. I mean, That's a dumb play that, gives them the ball back fresh and good field position. I mean, if you were just throwing the ball in an interception the next play, same net result at the end of the day. Forney, when 10-6A is the only thing I can try to figure out is matchups. And I talked about Rockwall and Longview, how Longview has a physical defense, and I thought that was going to be the factor on why Rockwall was going to struggle with them, and they did. Forney does not have a physical defense. Forney, remember the Lake Highlands game, even the Royce City game, you're going to get your points on them. You got to get turnovers. Rockwall, 2 weeks to get ready for this game. I think it's just a favorable matchup for Rockwall, because Forney doesn't do well in these shootout games. You look at the Waxahachie game, they don't do well when it shoot out. Even North Forney, they didn't do well. I think Rockwall is going to take care of business. Having the week off, Jackrabbit Citibank Stadium, Jackrabbit Stadium, whatever they want to call it over there, is a hard place to play. I give Forney big credit. If you ever want a good crowd shot, you want to go to Forney because they have one of the best crowds. But Rockwall is going to settle them down. It's going to be a shootout, but again, limit the turnovers. They'll win.
Absolutely. And then here's two teams that love shootout games. They don't want to really bother too much with the defense. Heath and Royce City. Heath's one of the only team that hasn't lost in 10-6A. And Royce City, man, they're gonna just keep going with their young guns, try to air it out and get some points here. But they're gonna have to score a ton to come anywhere close to Heath.
I'm gonna give you a trivia question, Ward.
Shoot.
I'm gonna tell you North Forney is off. So you just got that game. You got this game. So what's the other game in this district 10-6A?
Tyler Legacy and Longview.
Yeah. We're not talking about that. Are you
talk East Texas?
Are you feeling better that I did?
I do feel better about that until you brought it up just now and made me say it.
You got to talk about all the teams in 10-6A, but we're not going to talk about Longview and Tyler Legacy. This game, Royce City just defensively in this district they struggle, but again it feels like they're out of bullets, and I keep saying. You heard their coach. They would be very disappointed if they didn't make the playoffs. This is their last chance. This is all hands on deck. They got to throw everything and the kitchen sink, trick plays. And Rockwall Heath does not have a great defense. So I think we're going to see a shootout. I think Royce City is going to almost do it. Almost again. I'm going to break their heart one more time, but I think it's going to be closer than most people think. But I think like a 49-42 game, Rockwall Heath wins again and puts Royce City. We may see the shovel for him next week, Roy.
Boy. That's calling me Royd is a problem too. I don't have the Royd rates. By the way, this is Rodney Webb's coached at 3 of the 7 10-6A teams, including these two. So
if we had Royce City and Ward coaching at the same time, it'd be Ward. It'd
be Royd City.
Ward
for all the. All right, 11-6A. Cedar Hill surprisingly is the only team without a loss, right? And they're taking on a Waxahachie team that we found out is now on the losing end of a tiebreaker, and that makes their win over Duncanville almost meaningless, right?
It is absolutely meaningless. They are the 3 seed in the district. Just to give you a little clue, if you didn't see any of that or didn't see our conversation about it or didn't see the tweets, Duncanville, DeSoto, and Waxahachie, if they all go 6-1, they're locked in at their tiebreakers. Duncanville is +16, DeSoto is 0, and Waxahachie is -16. So they will carry that over into the district 1, 2, 3, and 4 seedings, because districts have to seed teams 1, 2, 3, and 4 because that's how they determine the home field advantage in the first round. That's why you see situations where the second, what we would consider D2-2 has the home game over a D2-1 because in the district, the D2-2 might be second in the district, and the D2-1 might be third in the district, but the 4th place team was the D2-2 team, so they were higher than them. So districts are obligated to seed teams 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if that ends up being the case, 1, 2, 3, where all 3 teams are tied at 6-1, they've already figured it out. It's Duncanville, DeSoto, Waxahachie. So because of that, Duncanville is the 1 seed, Waxahachie is the 3 seed. Therefore, Duncanville will be the D1 first seed, and Waxahachie will be the D1 second seed, despite the fact that Waxahachie beat Duncanville straight up. There are a lot of people chattering on the social medias that they think Cedar Hill is going to win this game. I don't see it at all. I even think you're part of that chattering, Ward. I think you've kind of talked about. I think that you could see it. I can't see it at all. I mean, maybe that's because of Allen's dominance in that game.
Yeah, okay.
But I can't see it at all.
In every game, though. Name me a game that Allen isn't dominant in, and they always make Cedar Hill go up there.
Other than Cedar Hill. I mean, so we're still trying to. We got to calibrate with Prosper. They have gotten all the style points. To be fair, they've gotten their style points, but they haven't played anybody. And Cedar Hill in this district haven't played anybody other than Lancaster. In that game, they got 6 turnovers. Yeah, if Waxahachie gives you 6 turnovers, you might win this game. But as long as Waxahachie doesn't self-destruct, which they have been known to do that, Waxahachie should win this game by 17-20.
This year's Jerry Meyer does not look like last year's Jerry Meyer. And if Jalen Brewster can terrorize the poor guy into throwing a couple turnovers, then
that's what you need. We're 6 turnovers like Lancaster did. And he's that good. But I think Waxahachie can just calm it down, just run the ball. And I think, run away from Brewster. That's the smart thing. And I think they can handle things. Waxahachie has been through the fire. They played Duncanville. They played DeSoto. Cedar Hill hasn't played either of those teams yet. So I think that Cedar Hill kind of talked about the running downhill with Richardson and the confidence that they had. Well, Waxahachie is going to be right there as a brick wall when they're running downhill, and they're going to run right into it. Waxahachie.
They might be missed like the Kool-Aid man, break right through the brick wall. You don't know. What about Lancaster and Duncanville? We really haven't talked about Lancaster in the last couple of weeks because of Duncanville playing DeSoto and DeSoto playing Wax and all this other stuff. What's your thoughts on Lancaster midway through the season here, and how much of a game will they give Duncanville?
Isn't it crazy that this game is now an afterthought? Like, this was this is two ranked teams playing each other, and this was like one where I had to consider, should we cut this one? It's only Lancaster and Duncanville, but it's two ranked teams who are playing each other. What happened to Duncan? It's like, we got playing Super Mario. That's my video game references, by the way. I'm an 8-bit guy, and they got the mushroom and the fireball all at once, and then the star, and they just went through DeSoto with Maximus the Great Denson, throws for 7 touchdowns.
That's amazing.
What, like, that version of Duncanville is going to probably have their way with Lancaster, but the version of Duncanville that played Waxahachie, I think Lancaster could play with that team. So if Duncanville looks over this game, I could see a situation where it's much closer than a lot of people think. But if Duncanville gets that chip on their shoulder, Coach Samples has them at that high level, they should take care of business. But I see Lancaster is playing really good football right now. It's unfortunate that they had to give up the 6 turnovers, and I think they have a chance against Waxahachie to get, if things go right, to maybe get into a tiebreaker situation. But again, because Waxahachie has that win over Duncanville, it's going to be hard for that to happen. They're probably cheering for Cedar Hill to win that game, to make that game straight up. But Lancaster is better than the record.
Gotcha. All right, let's move down to 3-5A. We talked about this a little bit earlier, how this is the playoff game for 3-5A Division One, really.
Yeah, this is full on the game. This is for the 4 seed, and we've had over the last couple of weeks both teams have played Denton. Denton's have been our calibrating team. Brewer looked better significantly, both sides of the ball. Birdville, this game is going to be a shootout. I just don't think that Birdville has the consistency to go score for score. Brewer has been able to put up some high numbers. It's a big game for both these teams, but give me White Settlement Brewer out of Fort Worth, depending on what you want to. What are you going to call them on the graphic? Would you call them White Settlement, or would you call them?
No, it's too big. I'm just going to either put Brewer or FW Brewer.
FW.
They may get an FW on it.
Oh, that's wrong to do that to them.
By the way, Birdville's lost to Grapevine's not really looking that good anymore. It's looking pretty bad. All right, let's move down to this one. I feel like we've talked about this game a lot in various different places on the Friday night recap show. I just saw you talking about it on the warm-up, but tell me your thoughts on the Arlington Heights-Wyatt game. And I kind of feel like the 4 spots, I don't know, because Chisholm Trail maybe have something to say about this too. But these two teams seem like they're in, but we just want to find out if anybody's going for that crown.
You talked about Coach of the Year. We had that conversation earlier. If O.D. Wyatt can somehow go undefeated in district, I mean, that's got to be up there. I mean, they lost to Wichita Falls School early, but to win this district, losing your best player to a transfer to Grapevine a couple of weeks before the season starts, that is Coach of the Year kind of calibration right there. But at the same time, Arlington Heights is pissed. Arlington Heights is mad about that game. And Joshua Greek, we know what a good quarterback he is. I mean, he is a D1 guy who is playing high-level football. Unfortunately for O.D. White, they don't have that level of quarterback. Maybe they would have if he didn't transfer to Grapevine and decided not to focus on baseball. But, the drop-off is significant. They play great team football. But, man, the James family, and they are mad about this game, even though they got a sophomore at quarterback, and they got Carson James, who's just able – I mean, that game with Arlington Heights and Saginaw, it's like Saginaw got up too big on them, and Arlington Heights was furiously trying to come back. They just ran out of time. I think if they would have played that game for another 12 minutes, Arlington Heights probably would have won it. But as they say, if ifs and nuts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas if and buts were candy and nuts. Right. No Merry Christmas for O.D. Wyatt. Arlington Heights with a big answer back. I don't even think this is close. I think Arlington Heights blows them out.
Wins them big. And then they sit around and hope Chisholm Trail can beat Saginaw in that.
And then we look at things like, how did this happen? This is one of those games where we're going to wonder how it happened, because there's no reason why, if you do that A is greater than B, OD Wyatt beat Saginaw, right. Saginaw beat Arlington Heights, you should think that OD Wyatt is going to beat Arlington Heights. I think Arlington Heights is going to win big.
Win big, he says, over at Farrington Field. Pascal, he's got one of those gravy records that everybody loves to see, but they've been playing a gravy boat schedule right now, and now it's all coming to roost now because they're going to play a Saginaw team that's got a lot of confidence now, and I feel Saginaw is going to rough ride them.
I think so too. Like you said, Pascal hasn't played anybody. We haven't, and the one time we got a little bit of insight into them, they lost by 3 touchdowns to Chisholm Trail.
Yeah.
So they got roughed up, and I think they're going to get roughed up again. I think Saginaw. I think Pascal may see them on the shovels if they don't win this game. I think that's, you can't get in the playoffs without this one. So it's going to be a desperation. But man, the way Joshua Greek is playing, it's such a high level. He just it's like Chevy Andrews for Seguin. When he's playing at a high level, they can beat anybody. Give me Saginaw to win by 5 scores.
5 scores. Boy, this guy's
5 scores.
Vicious in 4-5A. He's giving out the big dogs.
A good team. It's weird because it's one of those weeks that you love, that everything is. It's like the good teams are playing the good teams, the bad teams are playing the bad teams. So we're not having these 7. I know you hated on the Friday night recap, like when we put up 4-5A and it's like 70-3, 70-6.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, I don't even want to talk about this district. Look, you can see them. Melissa, Lovejoy, Walnut Grove, and Anna, they all won. Next, it's usually like this, but now you got the big dogs against the big dogs and the little dogs against the little dogs.
And you still got big wins.
And I still got big wins. And this one is going to be big for Frisco in 5-5A Division I, because Frisco, we saw them against Lone Star. They played relatively well. Now we're going to see how they play against the second tier, which is Wakeland and Reedy, who's going to be 2 of their next 3 weeks. Wakeland is playing Wakeland is one of those teams, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're 7-0. They're undefeated. They're undefeated, and I have them like number 6 in our rankings, but they haven't lost a game yet. And now they still haven't played Lone Star. They still got that game coming up. And last year, remember the Lone Star game? We're gonna have to fire up those highlights just because that was play of the year when that crazy ending. They're not scared of Lone Star, even though in our head they should be. And we thought they should have been last year, and they weren't. And they came and won that game. You got to take care of business against Frisco. I think it's going to be a shootout because Frisco defensively looks a little porous, but Wakeland, I think, will take care of business. Reedy is hoping for Frisco to win this game because they want to get back in that tiebreaker, because you want to avoid in District 5-5A the 3 spot, because the 3 spot puts you against Highland Park in the second round. You don't want that.
You don't want that. Reedy found that out last year. And I tell you what, sometimes I wish I could watch all the games, or I wish I had the time to watch all the games like you and Step kind of do it at times, but all I have in my head is that Wakeland Reedy game where they did nothing for 3 quarters, absolutely nothing for 3 quarters, and ended up with the win. So when you say 7-0, I'm like, I'm shocked. I can't. He must have bad information, but it's good information. It's just that I still have that one Kirkendale game stuck in my head. All right, let's move down to the 6-5A Division II. R.L. Turner against Newman Smith in the Kenny Matthews Bowl.
The Kenny Matthews Bowl. Man, this used to be a fun rivalry. We call it the Battle of Josie Lane. Yeah, they're like 3 miles from each other. And Creekview is even on Josie Lane. We don't even care about Creekview anymore. Right. I just wanted to use this time to say how much I love Kenny. What a guy. He does great stuff on the TV show and on the Friday night. And that smile, he keeps so many people just tuned in because of that. His Trojans are going to win the Battle of Josie Lane in a big way. But man, shout out to Kenny.
Shout out to Kenny. He's got the infectious personality, man. You got to love that. Highland Park and Joshua, man, you made a statement last week about how Joshua, if they're going to be right there in every game, can they be right there in this Highland Park game? Because they surely need to if they want to think about getting any kind of postseason action.
Lost to Red Oak by 3, lost to Tyler by 1, beat Midlothian by 2. Now we got Highland Park coming up, and they have to win this game, because if they don't win this game, like now you got 3 losses, and now your win over Midlothian is not as good, because if Midlothian can just win 1 and not have 3 losses, they beat Red Oak or Tyler, that your win just becomes a moot point. And how many times have we seen that this year? You get the big win like with Waxahachie, then something happens. It doesn't matter anymore. But Joshua held Red Oak to 10, held Midlothian to 21, but it took triple overtime. Held Tyler, who held Highland Park, they were in the 70s. They held them to 16. Can't Joshua hold Highland Park to 21? If they can, I think they have a chance. But surely this is one of those times. It's like Princeton. Princeton, when they play everybody, it's like 50s, 40s, but then they play Allen, nothing. No. You know, I feel like that's what Joshua and Highland Park's going to have, that dynamic that it's just not going to look the same because of just the Highland Park factor. I think Highland Park wins this game convincingly. I'm going to be a little bit disrespectful to their defense because if you look at what they did against Tyler, that should calibrate because Tyler the next week put up 66 against Cleburne. Right. So, I mean, it's not like, their offense is bad, or they just had that kind of a week. Tell me what would we say if Joshua could hold Highland Park to under 21? I mean, that
would be amazing. I mean, that would be a show leader. Yeah. We'd lead off the show with that.
Even if they lost 21-3 or something, I mean, that would show you that Joshua's defense is for real. I just don't see it happening. Buck Randall's locked in. That's not going to happen. But it would be a bad week to pick him in fantasy, just to be safe. Probably not the week to pick.
Yeah, exactly. Argyle, Mansfield, Summit. It's we were high on Argyle right from the get-go. Matter of fact, in our district breakdown, I believe you said, "I can't wait for the Argyle sock game." I was like, Lee, we got to go through 14 games to get to that one, and then they took a thumping to Lone Star. They didn't look all that great against Timberview, but all they're doing is winning. And now this is their last test before we feel like they're going to probably win out against Burleson and the Colony and Everman down the stretch. But Summit has turned into a good test for them because they're undefeated as well, and they're picking up some big wins. They got a little tougher road down the stretch than Argyle does. But talk to me first about how you feel Argyle's kind of bounced back from the Lone Star game and maybe even the Timberview game, and then tell me about this one against Summit.
I had a chance to go on the Antler Sports Network, which is the radio broadcast team for Seguin, and we talked about things. And I was doing my research. I was trying to get to that next level to find a point for him that was interesting. And one of the things I uncovered is if you look at last year and you look at this year, I mean, we talked about it going into the season. Every quarterback is back in this district. Even Timberview, they had a different quarterback, but he got hurt the first play against Kimball last year, and they got him back. So it's like everybody has experience back. And when you start to dig down into what all the scores kind of look like they did last year. I mean, even the game against last year, Argyle and Seguin was like 36-7. And going into the fourth quarter, it was like that against Seguin before they got a couple of window dressing touchdowns in that game. Argyle took care of Summit, but the one thing that Summit has done that we've been talking about this is the third year with their quarterback, and I'm like, man, if Summit could figure out the offensive side of the ball, the defense is good, the quarterback is very athletic, but man, if they could just figure it out, it looks like they figured it out. But Argyle, they're just at another level. I think that Summit, it's a great story at 4-0. They beat Timberview, but guess what happened last year, Ward? They beat Timberview. I mean, it's like we're having deja vu of everything that happened last year in this district. Even the scores are about the same. So I think Argyle is a big winner.
And Gasperson to Caldwell has turned out to be one of the most dangerous duos in the state in 5A. And they're clicking every week. It's another score. Might be somebody for fantasy down the line here. Colleyville Heritage and Seguin. Seguin's hanging on by a thread to get in the postseason. They're not winning the games that are, I don't even want to say 50-50, but the games that they're evenly matched. They're not getting the W's there, and they got to get one if they want to go in the playoffs. Can it be here?
I went to this game last year. I think you and I were you were filming, and I think I came up for the second. I went to a double header at Wiley. Yes. I went to the 5:30 game, then I came over for this game afterward. It's like deja vu. Like we're feeling all of these things. I went to North Garland, South Garland, which were the one game we didn't talk about in 9-6A. Then I came to this game, and Colleyville Heritage won it late, if I remember things right. As Seguin was starting to spiral downhill. It was that Wiley Monfield. Are they using Wiley Monfield this year, or
not
is that
under
construction?
No. It's under construction. They're not using Cravens either, I don't think. But
what I like about Colleyville Heritage, I feel is like a little bit of an added thing. We talked about Bodie Weaver and how if he could start to run the ball, it makes you have to key on one more player. And Gerard Wiley, man, he is fast. I've seen some heat map footage of him where you can put the miles. I love that high school you are using that next player technology where we can do that. You're gonna have to. I'm producing on the Air Award. You're gonna have to buy that software next year, and we're gonna need a segment on the TV show
sports
where
science.
You do some sports science, some analytics, and you're just like running some miles per hour or something. They'll eat it up. Pat Doney will love it. He loves numbers. So just think about that. Put it on the meeting for things to talk about. Colleyville Heritage by 2 scores.
2 scores. It was quick analysis right there at the end. All right, Emerson versus Lovejoy. This is for the last spot here. Lovejoy, if you do your calibrate, you'll see that Lovejoy probably should win this one with ease, but it's up at Kirkendale, so I kind of want to go to it, but Ted's already grabbed this one from me. Anyway, your thoughts.
Thursday night, right? Like we're talking about all these Thursday night great games. And Emerson did not play at all against Anna.
No.
It was not competitive at all. Lovejoy, that game was against Lovejoy and Anna was like at least half where you got that. I think Lovejoy is going to bounce back, but it's weird. And I felt like we talked about this last year. We're not going to be able to talk about 4-5A anymore. I mean, we'll probably mention the Walnut Grove Melissa game which could be the district championship based on what happens on the next game that's going to flip over. But really, the playoffs are going to be done in this district after this game. So I think Lovejoy will win this game comfortably and lock in the 4th spot, and we're done with the playoff talk.
Almost like no other district. This one has a haves and have-nots, and then the Emerson.
Right.
Emerson's right in the middle, and the have-nots have no chance against the haves, and they really don't have a chance against Emerson either, but they try. But let's go to the next game. This is Walnut Grove finally gets to play somebody. They're playing Anna. Walnut Grove has coasted through their schedule. And, talking to Seth Parr earlier, he's talking about, I was like, is it an advantage that they haven't got to play anybody? He said, yeah, it's an advantage for them because I got nothing to look at on film because they pull everybody at halftime. Meanwhile, he gets to see me in close games with Melissa. He gets to see what kind of I'm running my real stuff here. He's not running anything real difficult against Frisco Memorial and the teams that they're blowing out. So he feels like it's an advantage for them. Where's the advantage in this game for you?
But on the other hand, this is going to be my Friday night game, by the way. Because Plano, I'm just going to live at Prosper ISD. I'm just going to I'm going to have Coach Smith kind of get me one of those press boxes, get me a luxury box. I'm just going to spend the night there. It'll be good. But we saw Anna beat Walnut Grove last year, and I think part of that was Anna had been tested multiple times, and Walnut Grove had not been tested. So it's like Anna was finally feeling like, we've seen you before, but you haven't seen us. And that's kind of the problem with Walnut Grove is that they haven't seen Melissa, Lovejoy, or Anna. They got to see Emerson, who was a pretty good team last year at that point. So they had at least one test, but now Emerson is not a test this year. So I feel like that is actually an advantage to Anna, that Anna's a little bit more battle tested. But when we saw the Melissa Anna breakdown, Melissa roughed them up in the lines. It's like after Peyton Miller, the fall off and the rest of the players for Anna was rough. And I think Walnut Grove, because they are a 6A team playing 5A Division II numbers, kind of reminds me of Anna when they were a 5A Division II team playing 4A Division I numbers. All of their linemen are Prosper linemen. And what I mean by that is they are good and big and come from that Prosper strength and conditioning program. They've been in that feeder system, seeing that kind of stuff. And I just don't think Anna's going to have any answer for that level of physicality. I think they're going to score, but I just don't think they're going to be able to go score for score, as I think Walnut Grove should be able to be physical, get the scores as long. I could say for every game just about, but as long as Walnut Grove does not mess around with the multiple turnovers, they should win this game. Close, but comfortably.
I'll be at this one too. By the way, Walnut Grove's closest game is 25 points this year. Is it going to be closer than that?
Yes.
Yes, closer than that 2-score game. And you're playing in the Seth Parr's plan because he said, tell Dix you definitely do not pick us, and definitely you did not pick them. So he's feeling good.
Now, Anna fans, I know you love this. Second quarter, I'm going to come down to your sideline. I'm going to go into the stands. Professor with the people. Whatever you want to say to me, I'll be there.
He'll take it. Give him the business. Don't throw anything at him, though, man. He's timid. He's ginger. He's very soft. All right, Crandall against Midlothian Heritage. At a week ago, I thought this would be two undefeated teams playing each other in district play, but it's not the case because Heritage took an L to Terrell, but they are heading out to Crandall, and Crandall's still undefeated. So tell me about this game.
But very much like Walnut Grove, it's kind of the anti-Walnut Grove, is they got all the hard teams now. Crandall, they're starting their run, and they haven't really played anybody. But I don't see what I see in Walnut Grove when I see Crandall. They're just giving up too much. And Midlothian Heritage, I know this is Sour Grapes Ward. Midlothian Heritage was a better team than Terrell. I know what the scoreboard said. I get it. You know, they played that game 10 times. Midlothian Heritage is going to win 8 of them, as long as they don't have 3 first-half turnovers. In that game, they would have won most of those iterations of that game. Now they're mad. Now Crandall, who has no defense, is going to get the beneficiary. Midlothian, it's going to be a high scoring game, but I think Midlothian Heritage wins a 49-28, 49-35 kind of a game. I just don't think Crandall can go score for score. Too young.
Yeah, probably right on that. And here's the other 2 playoff teams out of that district. Terrell, who is the lone undefeated team, they're taking on Ennis. Hopefully, get your boy Windress back out there.
What? Windress. 2 weeks. You had 2 weeks, Ennis. 2 weeks to get him ready for this game.
We didn't need him to play against Greenville. Why would they need him against? Give him 3 weeks.
You sit him.
Don't need him.
Oh man.
Randy Jackson ain't covering that in coaching that Greenville team, so they didn't need him.
Terrell was such a fun team because they are the old school option football sweeps. Kind of a thing, you know, the sweeps and stuff, but they'll go deep on you. Their analytics, it's like old school analytics football. It was so fun to watch. 4th and 1, it brought me back to that Nebraska and Texas game from like 20 years ago, where we're going to bootleg and go deep and just break your heart. Nobody expects it. That's how Terrell is playing this kind of football. They are so well coached. You talked about Coach Sedberry being in the running for Coach of the Year. Absolutely agree. They are well coached. They are fired up. They're going to beat Ennis by a couple of scores. They're going to go 10-0. They're going to move on. It's going to be that second round where they probably have to play Marshall, Texas High. That's going to be really their first test because nobody in 5A Division 2, the DISD district, is going to challenge.
Not named Sock.
And they won't be named Sock.
Right, exactly. Ennis may have to face Sock. By the way, that's one of my first playoff games ever was Sock against Ennis, and I believe it was like 5-3 late in the game. One of them got a pick 6 and ended up being 12-3. I was like, I thought Texas football team scored like crazy. What's going on here? All right. Me and you went out to see Sulphur Springs. All kinds of excited. One play into it. We were ready to pack it up and go somewhere else. And that one play is going to have effects throughout the rest of the season because it does not look like he's going to be back, Deuce Simmons. And now they're playing Paris, who they've taken their lumps from the top dogs in this district. And now it's Sulphur Springs time to see if they can take on Paris.
Yeah, you may have watched the play and kind of saw what happened. I know sometimes you're like, you cringe and don't want to watch those things. The only feedback I could get was you could see the trainer doing something and you could see him bawling and everybody started hugging him. Like something was told to him that was not going to be like, you just need to tape this up in a week or 2 later. You're fine. So that's going to be a big loss. But their quarterback was serviceable. And I think now that he's going to get the reps, I think that's going to be helpful. This game is going to be so important for us in 7-4A to let us know, is Sulphur Springs still going to be closer to Salina and Panther Creek, or are they dropping down to more Aubrey and Paris level with the injuries? And that wasn't the only injury they had. I mean, Sulphur Springs probably lost 2 or 3 starting players in that game. So, and it's not a team that's got a lot of depth in 4A. So when you get that kind of banged up, I got to see how you can do against Paris, who absolutely destroyed Aubrey last week. I think Sulphur Springs should be the favorite in this game, but it's like we don't know what it's going to look like going forward. So that's why I want to keep an eye on this game to see, can Sulphur Springs bounce back and be better at least than Paris and maybe be able to go a couple of rounds in the playoffs, or is their season done at this point and they might even struggle to make the playoffs because they still got really good teams left to play.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about the reps. I hope the reps help because they just Salina peeled back and they're just like, all right, I'm going to shut this run down because I know this guy's not going to make the plays, and he only threw for like 80 yards. We'll have to see what reps do for him. I agree with you on that. We'll see what happens.
One thing we talked about on, just informally, and I know you agree with it, I think it's a podcast subject, Salina does not look like a state champion.
No, they don't.
In that window of what I saw, especially looking at how Stephenville is playing at a high level against really good teams who have tested themselves. And in that, now you even go back to looking at the Panther Creek 1-score game. You go back to Belleville, and those games are all a little bit close. It just doesn't look right. And then you throw in this controversy that's going on with Salina and the coaching staff and trying to figure all that stuff out, due process. I don't even want to get into it because we just don't know what we don't know. They'll figure it out. It's just a distraction. That's tough.
They don't need a distraction. Not when you're winning 23 straight games. All right, Super Bowl Saturday. We got a Super Bowl amongst us, and the Cowboys aren't in it. Yeah, they are. Carter Cowboys. Carter Cowboys against Kimball Knights in the Oak Cliff Super Bowl. Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. I don't even know if I'll be able to wake you up for that one, huh, Dick? So I'll let you know what happens in it. But you let me know what's going to happen in it right now.
I went to that game last year. It was fun. Kimball, I talked about this in the warm-up. You can hear the full breakdown on Thursdays, brought to you by Cricket Wireless. You can find out all of your insights and know who gives you better phone coverage than certain things. 5G versus 4G. And to me, this is kind of, when I think about the non-district schedule, it's 5G versus 4G. Kimball playing Timberview and leveling up there, and Pine Bluff. They got to play a little bit of a travel game, although they had to come here this year. Carter played an okay schedule. Van, they played Van pretty well. They're pretty good. They had to go down those country roads to do it. But Kimball was dominated for 3 quarters against Lincoln. And it's like they came back. They had that intensity, like, oh, we've been here before, we can take care of it. And I felt it was like one of those games where I never really felt like Kimball was going to lose, and they didn't. And this is where Carter, same way. I just don't feel like they're going to lose, and they're probably not. Carter's just not throwing the ball well at all this year, and I think that's going to be a problem, especially if Kimball gets up on them and Carter's got to try to come from behind. They just don't have it with their scheme. So I think Kimball's going to take care of business.
All right, and finally we go to some 2A action. Lindsay lets you down in the Kraut Bowl, but they still got another big one coming up against Collinsville. Your thoughts?
This is exactly what I've been talking about. This reminds me of Coppell and Louisville to an extent, because Coppell, in this case, is Munster. That I thought there's no way Lindsay was going to beat Munster. I mean, there's no way Munster was going to beat Lindsay. Munster, yeah, they're the big dogs. They're the impending champions, state champions. They got everything, but man, Lindsay looks really good. And then what happened? Munster just dominated. Lindsay beat Pilot Point, dominated Pilot Point, and Pilot Point looks like they're going to win that district. That's a good win. Surely they're going to beat Collinsville. Surely. I got to know that my eyes and my analytics don't deceive me. So I need Lindsay to reach in there, because I haven't seen you in person yet. I need you to reach in there and prove me right on this one, because you made me look bad against Munster. There's no reason you should have lost that game analytically against Munster, and you did.
He didn't like looking bad.
I don't like
either.
that.
He starts calling people Shirley, and I don't like that either.
Don't like it.
Fantasy football time. Oh, how about that? And I gotta thank my man Rodney Webb for the win last week, going up 42-14, or 42-7, made my man Legend Bay have to step it up and really. I mean, he's probably gonna have a good game anyway, but he had to go monster on me, and he went monster, and I got myself my 6-10 points, and
I was still in a position to win, Ward, if I didn't lose my running back. He only needed 136 yards, and he averages 170. I still would have won.
That's happened to me 3 times this year, so I have no sympathy for you whatsoever. I'll take my win 3-4, but let's get into this week. And because you got that loss, you're going at me all kinds of different ways this week. In every position, you're really sticking it to me. Sticking it. Because, first of all, we don't even have a North Texas player for you for quarterback. Got somebody out in East Texas Commerce. And I got my main man, Chuck Smith from Lake Highlands. Chuck, I know what he's going to do against Berkner D.
That's a good pick. But he doesn't run the ball, because you got to get Christian Rhodes some reps. Aiden Brown can do both. They're playing Mineola. Mineola is good enough to kind of get into a little bit of a shootout to where they're not going to shut it down at halftime. I'm looking for – You could have 350 to 400. I'm looking for 500. I like going big, the dual threat guys. Aiden Brown has been amazing for DFW's Commerce. Hunt County.
Yeah, we'll have to call East Texas.
I don't care what East Texas I'll have
to call my East Texas newspapers to find out the stats on that game, since it's not being played anywhere around the Metroplex. This dude here. And then he tries to stick me at running back. Knowing Federico is my favorite player, he's going to pick him. I can't go with him no more. but I'm going with Carter Sham because he shows me something each and every week in big games. And Heath against Royce City is going to be a big game where big points need to be scored. But, man, what can I do again? I knew you had to use him at some point. And
you got 8-6A. I mean, you got to pick somebody from 8-6A every single week, it feels like, because the numbers are incredible out of that district.
Yeah, 200 every week. I knew it was going to happen at some point. I was just hoping it wouldn't be there. And then the perfect storm. Flower Mound. Over here, he picks a receiver for Flower Mound, which he knows when I played him, just put foot to butt. He was tremendous. I'm going with Grayson Meyer for a big game against Frisco, and I'm hoping those little bubble screens that Maples throws to him, it takes off for a long distance. Grayson Meyer, he's just a heck of a player. Hey, can we add interception yardage?
Nope.
This guy.
We're not doing special teams, but Carter Massey, favorable matchup this week. After losing, they're gonna focus. It's gonna be big yardage. That's what Flower Mound does. They bounce back. They're gonna need a bounce
big
back.
Yardage. They're gonna have to. All right, we'll see. I gotta get my fourth win at some point.
Yeah, I already know who I'm picking next week too, but you'll have to tune in.
Oh, wait a second. This is the guy who never wants to tell me nothing 2-3 weeks ahead. What games you going to next week?
I don't know where I'm going, but I'll tell you, Trey Wright will be my quarterback next week.
Maybe. I might pick. Oh, I can't do it.
You can't.
All right, done it. Gary got me a W. Dang it. Actually, no, he didn't. I lost. Trey. All right, buddy. We'll talk week 9 next week, and I'll see you at the Anna game. Anna, Walnut Grove. You'll see threesome. Me, Kenny, and Diggs all at one game.
And when I go up there, if you have a chance, film up there. When I go into the crowd, maybe you can make it as your B-roll. Just got to get a quick, shot up there as I'll walk by you.
Wander through the crowd. Let me know. Yeah. You can do it at halftime? I'll definitely do it.
Second quarter.
All right. All right, brother. We will see you next week.